What's going on, guys? It's been a while since I did a video like this, so I'm excited to show you guys what I have today. Today, we're going to be discussing the front-end sales systems that I use in my land investing business to generate more deals, close more deals, build more trust, build more rapport. And over the last year, I've been using this. The deals that we've closed, I mean, I don't know that we would have closed as many deals or had the profits that we've had without this system alone. And I've seen the system work for many of my clients as well. So this is why I like testing things in my own business first, giving it to my clients. They get great results. And then we just keep adding on, adding on, and adding on. It's just what I like to call an unlimited feedback loop. So this is through direct mail. This is from direct mail. And if you guys have been following me for a while, then you know my principles for direct mail are great copy, addressing common pain points. So common pain points that a seller has. So what are their issues? Why do they need to sell? What are the most painful things? So 1031 exchange, divorce, mortgage, all those things. There's an amalgamation of them, but those are the most common ones. Then we address their objections. So any objections that they would have. So whether it be who are we, what do we do, how do we help, we're addressing those objections. So why would they object to working with us? We write that in there. And then we position ourselves as the expert in how we write our mailers as well. You don't want to position yourself as a scammer. And many people do that by accident, just by sending out these regular old direct mail letter templates or don't know exactly what to write. That's why we tend to have sellers that actually reach out to us and say, hey, your mailer stood out. And it's funny, I heard a call the other day where a guy was like, your mailer looks like what all these other people are trying to do. Like these other ones look fake and you look like the real deal. That's why I called you. And that is the best thing to hear because we put deep intention into making sure that our mailers look really good. They look really professional. They look like something you'd want to call. They don't look like you're going to call. It's going to be some guy in some room tens of thousands of miles away from you that can't actually help you. So the first thing that I need them to think is like, okay, this person can actually help me solve my problem. From there, we route that straight to our website. There's a CTA to give us a call. And then once that happens, our answering service actually qualifies the seller. So the answering service will qualify the seller with a field of about 15 questions. It goes through their name, goes through who they are, why they want to sell their property. It goes through APN, where it is, reference number. We locate all of it. So by the time they come in, we know who they are. We know exactly what's going on. And then if they're qualified, there's things that qualify them to book in a call or to not book in a call. And if they qualify, then they book in a call. And this is actually the calls that we have for today. Today's Friday. Yeah. So this is the calls that we have for today. And this call booking format has been insane for us because we have way more control over the front end of the business. And also it is taking our customer through an experience. And this is what I was thinking about maybe over a year and a half ago. I was like, how do I take sellers through more of an experience from the time that they call us to the time that we close? How do I treat them as a customer? So like if you walk into a coffee shop, like how do I take that same approach? You walk into a really good coffee shop or you walk into a really good restaurant and the service is just exceptional. How do I make our customer service and our client service better as opposed to just saying, oh, hey man, I'm going to just give you some quick cash. Like what does that do? What does that do? Because everyone does that. So what is the difference and what is the separation that I can create with us from everyone else? Because I know no one else does this. And so I thought about the separation. Listen, the more separation you guys can create in this business, especially now that so many people are coming into it. And I mean, people are saturating the market. So many people are coming into this. The more separation you can create by having better sales systems, by having better conversations, by having things that no one else has, by having better mailers, the more deals you'll get because then the cream will always rise to the crop. So the better you get, the more separation you create, the more deals you're going to get, which is why there will be a 1% and then there will be a 99% who just don't do this stuff because like, oh, I don't need to do it. I get deals. But this is how you take a business to 7 figures, multiple 7 figures and beyond. So we book in what we like to call land consultations. And so it's an hour long we take. It's an hour long. And really that's a it's a sales call where we go through their property, we go through everything we need to do on a normal call. We build rapport, we build the trust. And the other thing too, which is great, is that in all these initial phases, the fact that we've booked in a call now, the fact that we've qualified them, trust is already beginning to be built because they see that we have a process. So now when you see that a person has a process for doing something, there's already going to be trust built in there. It's not just like some run-of-the-mill company. So by the time that you get on the phone with them, they know that you have a process. Now, with the call booking framework, what we have, the cardinal rule that I use is we need to be booking these calls within 24 hours of the first call. So I don't even let the answering service do anything beyond the next 24 hours because speed to lead is still equally as important. What we used to do was call them within 10 to 15 minutes of them hitting our CRM, but now we don't do that. And I'll explain to you why we don't do that. But it has to be booked within the first 24 hours of that call. So all of these that you see here, these leads came in within the last 24 hours. Now, the first contact is still made within 10 minutes. First contact is still made within 10 minutes, and that is a text message, and I'll show you guys an example of what that's like. So here's an example. So, hi, Jenny, this is Sam from Landverse. Just saw you booked in a time to discuss your land tomorrow at 4:45. I'll be calling you personally from this number, and then you give the phone number. Looking forward to helping you find a solution for your property. Thanks for trusting us with your situation. Sam, right? So usually that's just the first text they get within 10 minutes. And why do we do that? Because a lot of the time when we used to call sellers back on just our mobile phone and just call them back as soon as the lead hit the CRM, what would happen is a lot of the time we wouldn't get an answer. Or if we did get an answer, it's kind of like it's like abrupt. It's like, hello? Like, who is this? Hello? But when you do this, when you booked in a call and then you confirmed it and then you let them know, hey, I'm going to be calling you from this number. Now you're no longer coming up as spam. They're ready for it. They're prepared, and they're prepared to have a conversation with you, as opposed to it just being like this run of the mill, like just burning all day. I didn't like doing that. So I was trying to figure out a situation to like, how do we create a less stressful environment for everyone where it's not just like this hustle and grind thing every day, and it feels just more streamlined, it feels more systematized, and it feels more organized. So this is what I did. Then from there, what that also does, this is a really key thing. What that also does is it gives us the ability to do research before the consultation. Because what used to happen is like when the lead would hit the CRM, and a lot of you might be experiencing this now, when a new lead hits your CRM, you have all this dopamine, this big dopamine rush, and you're like, oh my God, a new lead hit the CRM. All right, cool. Let me hurry up. Let me do that. It's like all this rush and hustle and bustle instead of, wait, okay, let me do the process. Let me do my research. Let me figure out what an offer is. Let me pull comps. Let me do everything I'm supposed to do. Let me listen to their call recording, their initial call recording. Let me figure out what their tonality was. Like, what kind of energy do I need to match them with? What did they say in their survey? You're doing all this research before you even get on the phone with them. Because so when you get on the phone with them, you're extremely prepared. You're not going to be doing this thing where you're like, oh, well, I think we could do this. And this is the thing. The skill set of most land investors is so low level. It's not even funny. And like, these are things that I've personally seen. Like the skill sets that these guys have is just so low level. And it's like, I would put land investing at like a level 4, 5 out of 10 opportunity for you to make multiple 7 figures. But the skill sets of most of the guys that are in this space, and people that are like, oh, I want to get to 100K a month, and you don't do any deals at all, your skill level is like at a 0 or 1. You're not doing this. So like when you get and that's not your fault. That's not your fault either. But you're not doing these things. You're not doing research before you get on a call. It's just you getting on a call and then you're just figuring it out live. Imagine you call a company for your car. Let's say you have a really, really nice car and you call a company to help you fix your car. And then you say, hey, these are the things. And they're like, oh, okay. Oh, well, let me look up. But then imagine if they have all their stuff together and they know exactly who you are. They know exactly how they can help. They know exactly what's going on, and they can provide you a solution right then and there. That's what we do here. So you want to do your research pre-consultation. Now, with that being said, within the call booking framework, this stuff is so deep. I can't believe I'm sharing this. But within the call booking framework, we have a value-led email sequence. And this all happens within 24 hours of the call being booked. Now, the first email is a welcome and legitimacy email. It's very good copy in all these emails. So, in fact, I hired a professional copywriter to help me write these emails, and we're constantly like changing the emails, and the emails have been working really, really well. And that's why on this end, when we qualify them, we have to make sure that we get their email. We have to make sure that we get their number. The only time where this doesn't exactly work how I want it to is when they have a landline. Then they don't get the text, but they still get the emails because 99% of these people have emails. Now, it's a welcome legitimacy email. It just basically says, hey, thanks for booking in a call with us. And then it explains who we are, what we do, how we help them. It addresses things like, are you a scam? Is this actually legitimate? Is this a real offer? We just answer all those questions for them. And these are a lot of the questions that they would ask us on the call, right? So since I already know that these are a lot of questions you're going to ask us on the call, we're going to answer them in the email. And the open rates for these emails are very high as well. Then from there, this all happens again within 24 hours. The second email is a case study of someone that we've already worked with, a deal that we've already closed, and then how amenable we are on price based upon their specific property. So, hey, how does it usually work? If you want a higher price, how does this work? So then we give them an exact case study. Hey, well, actually, Jill, she wanted $57,000 for her property, but she had this, and this wrong with it. So we're only able to give her 48, but it worked out for Jill because Jill was still able to do what Jill needed to do with her capital at the end of it. And so that's how we explain it to them. So we're already framing them to understand that we're not buying things at market value. That's not what we do. And then third is just more proof of performance and more of people that we've helped, because the more proof you have, the better. Now, when it gets to the actual consultation call, and obviously this is so important, keep in mind, everything that I have just mentioned happens before an acquisition manager even gets on the phone. You haven't even gotten on the phone yet. So all these things have happened. And I'll tell you this too. These sellers are going to do their research on you regardless. So you need to make sure that you give them something to research. You give them your own assets to research. And there are a few other things that we're testing that I cannot really talk about right now, but I want to create as many trust assets as possible for a seller before I actually get on the phone with that seller. Now, when it comes to the consultation call, I've gone over this before, but things that you need to understand are identifying the problem. These are the most important principles of a consultation call. Identifying the problem, framing your solution around the problem. We do that by asking them questions about the property. And many times we already know, and more so when we get on these calls, it's more so just confirmation. Well, I just wanted to confirm this. I saw that you had this. I saw that you had this. And that's why right here, the research is so important, because then when we get here, we kind of already know everything about the property, but we don't necessarily know everything about them. So this call is really to know everything about them and why they need to sell their property, right? We already know everything about the property, and as much as we possibly can. There are a few things sometimes that we have to confirm that we can't see on our end, but for the most part, we know as much as we possibly can. And then from there, we end up framing our solution around the problem that they have. So whatever it is that they said, hey, I have this issue, I have that, this is why I need to sell, or maybe they don't have a reason why they want to sell, but they just want to sell. Well, then we're able to still frame our solution around that. In this call, it is very important that a final offer is made. And usually the way we started out is giving a range offer, a very, very tight range offer, and then saying we'd probably land around X. Would that work for you? And we already sent out our mailer and we already had a price on the mailer. So many times we're asking if that price works, but then we're also asking if that price works on here. So we kind of already have an idea when they qualify the call. So we kind of already have an idea of what's going to be happening or what they're going to accept when we get there. But we usually make that final offer based upon all of everything we know about the property. So all of our research, because this is the thing, right? With the blind offer, you can't, I don't know that $55,000 is going to work. It might be 40 because maybe I found out that it wasn't on the road how I thought it was, or maybe there's trash all over, or maybe there's things on it. Maybe I can't sell it for what I need to sell it for. So then we make our final offer. And if we do not get a contract out of that conversation, then we put them on an aggressive follow-up sequence. And then from there, they get a call recap email with the next steps, the things that we'll do next. So, hey, I'm going to give you a call on this day, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. If it's a viable lead only, and usually everything that's come through this funnel already is a viable lead. Now, if it's a viable lead, then we're going to be extremely aggressive, basically calling multiple times a week. And I've seen people that like call sellers 3 or 4 times if they say no to an offer. And I'm like, what, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, well, the seller's just not motivated. It is your job to make sure that sellers are motivated. It is your job to follow up with sellers to the point where they find themselves in a situation you're the first person they think about. And this is what I want you guys to understand. When you look at all of this whole system I built this so that I could be the first person that comes to mind in a seller's mind 3, 4, 5 years from now. I want to be the first thing that comes to mind. My company. I want my company to be the first thing that comes to mind when they think about, oh, I need to go and sell this property. I need to call these people. Not all these other 10 or 12 other letters. I need to call these people. And so when you guys feel, I don't know, if you feel scared or embarrassed or whatever to follow up, that is the wrong thing to do. If you think someone's going to be upset with you for following up, wrong thing to do, because you genuinely have the ability to, I mean, this business changed my life. You have the ability to generate cash flow for yourself like no other. So if we get a contract signed, then the next steps, recap email. So what happens with that is we just say, hey, we're going to go ahead and open escrow with this title company. This is their number. We've already contacted them. Please keep us, we'll keep you in the loop. Please keep us in the loop. These are the things they're going to ask you. And here's everything that we talked about on our call. And then we've gotten the contract signed, and then we send them a fully executed contract as well. So this is the entire front end sales systems that I use. There are a few other components that we do after this part that really help, but I've seen this boost seller conversations that we've had overall. I've seen this boost offers accepted. I've seen this boost deals closed. I've seen this boost pretty much every metric in the business, and as opposed to how it was before when we were just like calling really quickly and doing that whole hustle and bustle, which I really did not like. So parting thoughts, last thing, just make sure that when someone looks at your mailer or when someone thinks about selling their property, you want to position yourself as the first person that they sell to. You want to position yourself as the first person they think about selling to. And that is why I build all these systems into my business, because I want to be the first person that they think about selling to. I never want to have any business where I'm not the first person that someone thinks about helping them. So, hope this is helpful. See you guys in the next video.